Singing that song, I wasn't planning to do any of this today, as you know. Y'all were expecting Yolanda in a different form. Yolanda has done this to me twice now. The last time I did a talk, it was because of snow. So I guess sometimes I was like, eventually when I write my book, I have to thank Yolanda for pushing me to come over here and chat with you instead of just always chatting behind the safety of a piano. But what struck me when I was singing that song in this moment, I get teary. I'll be teary. It's okay. Teary's good, right? Is the illusion idea, right? Like we think we know something, right? And then we find out we don't know it at all. And then we think, oh, now I get it. Now I know it. And then we don't know it at all. I don't think we're ever going to know it all, are we? I mean, like, I don't know. Have any of you really? Just when you think you know it, then you're like, oh, wait, that challenged it and made me think a little differently. As many of you know, I did a 10-day silent meditation course recently, December 24th until January 4th. And it's a Vipassana meditation technique, and it's 10 days of silence, complete silence, no reading, no writing, no listening to music, no exercise. You're really meditating 9 to 11 hours a day, and you eat breakfast, you eat lunch, you don't eat afternoon. You really don't need to. That was the least difficult thing, was not eating in the afternoon. That was the absolute least difficult thing. Everybody's like, "What? You don't eat?" I was like, "That's easy." And for me to say that's easy as someone who clearly eats, it's a thing. But it was fascinating. The last time I did it was in 2012, and I swore I would never do it again because I was miserable. And yet, this summer, even a little before summer, I kept feeling this voice inside that was like, you should really do that meditation thing again. And I'm like, no thanks, but no thanks. I don't think that's for me. And then a few days later, you should really, I think you should maybe consider doing that meditation thing again. I'm like, okay, let me think. And then I'm like, no, it was sucked. It was terrible. It was painful. It was miserable. Why would I do that to myself? I swore that I would never do it again. No, bad idea. And I'm like, and then again, it happened. I'm like, oh, Jesus, okay, fine. Let me at least go and see what dates they're going to have coming up, and sure. And they had one over Christmas. I was like, I'm just going to, put a reminder. You got to put a reminder kind of 6 months out to get on the list because they fill up very quickly. I can always decide not to do it, but if I don't have a spot, then I don't have the option. So let's just at least get on the list and have the option. So that was initially what I did, and then I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to do this. And I kept thinking I might talk myself out of it, even up till, day one that I was there. I got there Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, I was like, what did I, why? All of a sudden I remembered why, this was not a good idea. And I was like, okay, I can go up this mountain and take my phone. I didn't check in my phone, but I had it off and it was put away. I just wanted to make sure it would be charged for Sunday, when I came back, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, I do have my phone. So I can always go up the hill to where I can get a signal, and I can text my friend Kaven. I'll be like, call this number and say it's an emergency, and they'll let you talk to me because it's an emergency. And then I'll just come up with the rest, and I'll be on my way. And I was like, well, what am I gonna do? Am I just gonna sit in my apartment for 10 days, and eat and spend money or be bored because everybody else is gone with spending time with family? What? And it's but I don't want to be here. And then and then I was like, oh, you have an aversion to this, don't you? And then I just had a giggle because I was like, that's the whole thing. That's what this whole thing is about, is letting go of cravings and aversions. And here I was having a big old aversion to doing this 10 days of the silence. And I'm I know I can survive it. If I survived it last time in August, living in a cabin with not a great screen and bugs, and in case you haven't met me, I'm not a wilderness boy. Nature boy is not my thing. I love nature. I think it's beautiful, but I don't need to be in it. I'm not camping. I don't like bugs. I don't like I love wildlife. Let me watch David Attenborough all day, every day, and let me marvel at the wonder of nature. But I like a safe distance from my nature. nature. I don't like to go. They had an outdoor communal bath housey kind of thing for the people who were sleeping out in the tents and in the cabins. And then you'd open a curtain and I'm like, oh, nope, not with that spider. I'm not getting in that shower. And then of course, you can't kill any living things. And so I'm like, well, I don't know. So, but like to me, that's the whole process, and that's why I knew that I probably needed to do it. When I did it the first time, I was not a meditator. Really, didn't have any kind of meditation practice. I was just kind of like, I'm going to jump into the deep end and teach myself how to swim. And if I didn't have the agitation of the being in an outdoor cabin in August and sometimes sleeping on just a sheet and the sheet was wet because it was just so hot and humid, then I might not have been as agitated, and it might have been a little more pleasant, a little more comfortable. But I'm sure there would have been other discomforts. And the trick of those discomforts and attaching to them and developing an attachment to the discomfort, to the unpleasant, as well as the pleasant, is the attachment to it and the misery that it brings. And we rarely are miserable alone. You know, we like to share our misery. I know, right? Anyone in here? I know some of you have shared your misery with me. And sometimes I go, no, thank you. I'd rather not have that gift. And I let you have your misery, but I don't take it as a gift because that's a gift I don't care to have. And sometimes I want to share my misery with you. And sometimes you're like, yes, let's join in this misery together. And we share misery together. And sometimes you just hold space for me to have my misery and let it be. And so to me, it's about sort of getting to the idea. I'm going to keep this from keeping on turning itself off or it's going to make me crazy. Getting rid of the idea of whatever that is and releasing a bit of the attachment to it. So in the meditation, when you're there, there's no talking, none of that stuff. It's noble silence. So essentially, they encourage you to just practice as if you're alone, even though there are about 65 men on this side and there are about 65 women on that side, and we all meditate in the same hall. So there are about 130, 125 plus of us in the meditation hall, meditating together, at least 3 1-hour settings a day as a group that we're all at together. And then you're meditating on your own, which is great because you can meditate for 5 minutes. And then if you're like, okay, I'm basically taking a nap. Then you get up and you walk around and then you're like, okay, now I'm going to try this again. And you sit for maybe 15 minutes and then you're like, I need to lie down again, or I need to go for a walk. And then I come back and sit down again. So you get to practice on your own in your room or in a pagoda or wherever. And, so you have these settings, and basically for the first 4 days, all you're doing is focusing on the breath. Not controlling the breath, just focusing on the breath. A little anapana meditation, as it were. So let's just do a little bit of that for a second. Get in a comfortable posture, whatever that is for you. And all we're going to do is I'll just close your eyes. It's not about altering your breath in any way, shape, or form. It's just observing the natural breath. You may be breathing heavy. You may be having short breaths. You may be deep breathing. You may not even be able to really notice your breathing. But invite the mind to concentrate on your nose, on the breath coming in and out of your nose. And focusing in on the sensations above the upper lip and around the nostrils and in the nostrils of just the sensation of the air coming in and out of the nose. You don't need to breathe deeply. Don't change the breath in any way. Just observe and notice if you can feel the cool air coming in the nostrils. Maybe the air is just coming in one of the nostrils. Maybe it's coming in both. Maybe you can't breathe through your nostrils, and so you're trying to figure out how to make that work. But you just simply sit for a moment and observe the sensations in and around your nose and your nostrils and your upper lip as the air is coming in and out. And observe and focus the mind simply on the breath. if the mind wanders, just simply return to focusing on the sensations around the nose, sensing the breath as it's coming in and out of your body. And take a breath, a conscious breath, and allow yourself to return into this space with your eyes open. So essentially, I spent 4 days doing that. 4 days. And then after you do that, you start focusing, and it's literally just to sharpen the mind. Because some of you, most of you, could you sense something? Yes, more or less? Some sensations? Did they change through the process? Sometimes it's like, oh, I feel this. Anybody feel the breath passing over the upper lip? Some of you, yes. Some of you know. Like, trust me, like, I in any moment I can be like, oh, there's the breath going over my upper lip. When you do this long enough, your mind gets very sharp and you start to become very aware of sensations in your body. When you stop practicing on a regular basis, you become less aware, and then you go back and do another 10 days and you become more aware, because it's a process of sharpening the mind. Eventually, day 5, when you start actually doing Vipassana, you start focusing on the sensations on the top of your head, and then on your face, and then other parts of your body, and you're scanning your body, and you're noticing, and you're being aware. And the key is awareness, noticing what's happening, and being able to identify it, and call it what it is. Oh, I feel a cold sensation, and okay, I notice that it's in one nostril. Or if you're like, oh, I feel a sharp pain in my chest, and it feels deep. There's heat associated with it. Maybe there's vibrating, and not making up a story, not attaching a story to it, but just observing it and being aware and being equanimous with your thoughts about it. So it's sort of like awareness and equanimity are 2 wings of the sort of this bird of wisdom, or whatever you want to call it. If you don't have awareness without equanimity, you're not going to fly very well. And the same, you could have equanimity, but if you're not really aware of what's happening, also you can't really fly. You need the 2 together to fly. So it's being aware of things as they arise in your body and being able to observe them and not have an aversion to them or have a craving for them. Because sometimes you have very blissful sensations throughout your body. You have this wonderful free flow of vibrations. And then it's very easy to be like, oh, I just want to have the free flow again. Like, that was lovely. So I'm doing something wrong. And it's not. Because as we know, like, one of the main things that then I learn about it is like everything arises and passes away. Nothing is permanent. Those things we love, they're not permanent. Those things that we don't care so much for, they're not permanent either. It's very easy to sort of like revel in the fact that, oh good, this terrible thing I'm going through is going to pass away. But guess what? That beautiful thing you're experiencing right now is also going to pass away, because nothing is permanent. And I find it interesting because, like, in Unity, we're always so quick to sort of be like, oh, I just want to, let's deny these things and get rid of these things and affirm the good because I just want to feel this lovely feeling, instead of making nice with those things that maybe aren't so comfortable. And so when you're sitting in Vipassana meditation all the time, you're observing your body. And like, if I'm observing this part of my body and I feel a sharp pain down here, it's like, okay, I'll get to you in a minute. Right now I'm here. And then you continue on the scan, and then you get there, and a lot of times you're like, oh, that pain is not even there anymore. Okay, so whatever. And then you've left that pain and that you've been observing, and then you come back and you're like, oh, I still feel the pain. The sharpness is not there, and there's no more heat, but there's like a little itch or there's a little twitch, and you're like, okay. And then you just continue, and then you'll eventually, it just goes away as well. Things rise up and they pass away. And so much of the stuff, there are things that are just live in our body, past memories, past, as the Buddha said, like sankharas, which are our experiences when we have strong aversions and we have strong cravings. Either way, they create these sort of lines, whether it's a line in the sand that's just easily washed away, or it's like a line on a rock, on a boulder that you've created with a chisel that takes a little longer to go away. Depends on how invested we are in that experience that's happened to us. And so they just sort of, I feel like they live in our body. And I know as a singer, there are a lot of times where it's like, oh, this is sad, or this is what, or it's joyful. And I'm always like I kind of knew where sadness lived in my body, or I knew where joy kind of lived and what that felt like. And I would just sort of tap into those things. So it's always interesting. And there are things that come up when you're in meditation, and you'll just cry, or you'll just have this whatever. And you're like, I don't even know why I'm crying. Like, I would sit in my room and ugly cry for like 45 minutes. And I'm like, I don't even know why I'm crying, but clearly something is coming up and something is passing away. Something has arisen with me that I'm just sitting with and I'm holding space for, and I'm allowing it to pass away. And I think it's sort of the thing that's been interesting to me is being able to, and the way it carries over in life to me, and the reason that why I've pursued meditation in general is that it's allowing you to sit and stay with whatever is happening in your life, instead of it needing to be different, and being like, oh, this is uncomfortable. I really, really want to eat this thing right now. And sometimes it's because I feel wildly uncomfortable. Whereas if I can just sit with my discomfort for a while and acknowledge it and go like, oh, well, what does it feel like in my body? What is going on with my breath? And observing what's happening, then like maybe I don't even need to eat that thing that I thought I needed to eat, because I was trying to do something to get rid of the thing that I was feeling in the moment, right? And so like even like A Course in Miracles, especially those first lessons, like nothing I see means anything, and like it's hard to look at certain things, sometimes you look at your wedding ring and you're like, oh, that doesn't mean anything, and some of you are like, oh no, that means something. Does it? It's a piece of for some of you, it's a piece of tin around your finger. Some of you, it's a precious gold, or it's a whatever. Some of you, it symbolizes all kinds of things. But what we realize in A Course in Miracles, it only has the meaning that I've given it, the story that I've created in it. It doesn't intrinsically have any meaning whatsoever. It has the meaning I've given it. So when you sit and you start to observe and you start to break with the narrative that you create around these sensations that we feel all the time, and just go, oh, it just simply is what it is. And one of my favorite ideas in sort of Buddhism is having tea with Mara, becoming curious about the things that are going on. So like if you're feeling extreme sadness or pain or misery, instead of being like, oh, I don't want to feel this, okay, I deny that pain is real and I affirm that only God lives here. Well, okay, that's great, but that pain is not going anywhere until you sit down and you have some time with it. You can bury it and bury it and bury it, but and you can go until you die and never deal with it, and that's fine. That can be the path that we all take, right? Or you can sit there and go, let me be curious. I'm curious what this is. And so they talk about inviting Mara in for tea. And so you sit with it and become curious and acknowledge like, oh, I'm feeling this, and I wonder where that is coming from, and observe sensations in your body and just take time to stay. It's meditating helps me stay with whatever I'm experiencing, instead of trying to be like, oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, that person walked. Oh, that person is here. I don't want to be around that person. I'm feeling all sorts of things. Instead of being like, I need to nod or I need to leave, it's like, oh, what if I can be here and be present and be aware of what's going on within me and still be okay with whatever that happens to be. And one of the other big things for me was that knowing that it's about embracing the idea of Buddha nature, rather than it's not Buddhism is never about a person. It's about the Buddha nature, and that there is an essential innate Buddha nature within everyone, which is not too far away from this little Christ candle, and the idea that we all have Christ nature within us. and that it's about embodying that Christ nature, those principles and those ideas in our life and in the way we interact with other people. And so then I start to think in terms of, how do I want to show up in the world? And do I want to show up in the world with my Christ nature, my Buddha nature, or do I want to show up in the world with somebody who is reacting to this craving and this aversion, and I need to have that drink so that I can let go of this day because it was terrible and I've made up this great story about it, and this drink is going to make it all better? Or maybe there is another option. Yeah, I think many of us have gone down these various paths. To avoid whatever, and some people don't seem to, and it's just interesting to sort of see how that path paves out. And Christianity is really not that different in those terms. I know sometimes we have an aversion to some of the Christian teachings because I think some of us were abused by those teachings in many ways, and they were misused, and they're continuing to be misused throughout. And it's very easy to take ideas of the Dhamma or the ideas of religion and the Bible and ideas and use them as a weapon against other people, instead of realizing that they're meant to be experienced and they're meant to be scientifically proven within your own existence. And so when you're sitting in Vipassana meditation, observing things that rise and pass away and rise and pass away, you're literally practicing the Dhamma. And so even in our unity principles, it's not about, you can sit here and talk about them till you're blue in the face and be so intellectual, and then go out and be a vile human being and treat people horribly. But like, I even think of the trend back in the day, WWJD, what would Jesus do? And it's like, but that it was an overused campaign of a certain time, but like, what a beautiful teaching. What would Jesus do in this situation? And we think of like, beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone that loveth is born of God and knoweth God. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. So, beloved, let us love one another. And that's 1 John 4, 7, and 8. I was raised in church here. Thank you. But like we're taught to do that. And if you're not loving one another, then you don't know God. Because if you know God, you don't have an option but to love one another. And then you think of things like Jesus loves the little children. Everybody know it? All the children of the world. Some of you do. Red and yellow, black and white, they are precious in his sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world. Oh, but not you. And I love you, but maybe stay over there in your neighborhood. Or I love you, but yeah, maybe I know you need food and I know you need some shelter and clothing, but but no, I'm not going to do that for you. Or I'm going to call you all these things and I'm going to do vile things to you and blah, blah, blah. But where is that? So like, then it's a matter of practicing that. The same with practicing our teachings, right? All of these things that we learn, it's like they're great when you're here on Sunday, but how are you applying it on Monday? And how are you applying it on Tuesday? And to me, that is where the meditation practice and all of that has continued to kick in. And there's one particular practice that I want to end with that is Tonglen meditation. And we've talked about Tonglen before. One of my, Nancy Napier loves the Tonglen stuff, which I think it took me a while to sort of wrap my head around, especially because in Unity, I don't feel like we necessarily, again, I feel like it's very different in how we do it. It's sort of like, oh no, I don't want to feel that. Instead, what it is breathing into the sensations that you're feeling. So why don't we just think about it for a second? Close your eyes. And so take a moment to tap into something that you're feeling that is maybe unpleasant. Something you see in the world that affects you to some degree. For me, I even practice it in the idea of my impatience behind people on the street or behind people on the driving or walking. And this impatient need that I have to get to where I'm going. And then I can breathe in that impatience that I know everybody feels some degree of impatience, waiting for something. And I can breathe in the impatience that not only I feel, but that so many people feel in dealing with various situations in their life. And I can breathe out a sense of relief from that impatience. I can breathe out some light and some freedom and allow that to expand into the truth of the Christ consciousness that dwells within me. So what we want to do is think of our heart space and a light shining in our heart. That expansive space that can contain all things, all situations. And so when we feel fear, instead of, I shouldn't feel that fear. Instead, breathe in the fear. And you can even take it that step further and breathing in the fear that others are living with every moment of every day. Whether they're afraid to drive in the snow to church on Sunday, or they're afraid that they're going to be ripped from their families. There's fear that exists. And if you breathe in the fear and allow that Christ consciousness, that Buddha nature, the love that is within your heart to transform that fear. And then exhale the peace and contentment back into the world for all beings as well as yourself. That this can develop compassion, can help you realize you're not alone with this sensation that you're experiencing. And that there's this power within you to be present with whatever you are experiencing and just breathe it in and allow it to be transformed by the renewing of your mind and released back into this illusion that we're living in. And then we start to notice that that fear is not quite the same as it was before I started doing this. And that I feel connected to my brothers and sisters around me who are experiencing similar thoughts and similar feelings and similar sensations. And that in this practice, I'm able to not only liberate myself, but I am able to liberate others from this bondage that we experience. And so just take a breath. And exhale. And one more conscious breath of inhaling and exhaling. That there's a chance that in this process that we find some peace, that we find some liberation from the things that bother us, from the things that don't feel so good, but that if we learn just to be with them, they will pass away. They will transform into other things along the way. So just keep breathing. You don't have to keep doing Tonglen, but just focus on your breath and be in that space. I always like to just remember that it's not about arriving. It's about learning to be okay with whatever's happening on my journey in this moment. Because regardless, it is what it is. This song, I like to think of as a bit of a love